short video about workshop organization, workshop tips and tricks, and various welding life hacks, or pretty much anything that you can use in your own welding setup. Clear fine oil, really good stuff. This one made by Tigers. You may find some made by somebody else. Once you spray it over drill bits or any other small items that needs to be protected from environment, it just spreads itself all over the place. What I tend to do as well, I tend to spread the same stuff over my workbenches once a month, once every 4 weeks, and it does marvels. Basically, clean up your bench and then use the same oil. You probably could use any other oil, like even diesel or engine oil that's been used up in the engine. However, all of that stuff will just create unnecessary smell from it, where clear fine oil is just very clean. You spray it on and then wipe it with a rag, and it creates the surface film and protects your bench. Now this particular bench is about 6 year old, and if I zoom in, you will see that around about the welding areas where welds are, you can clearly see the clean metal around about those areas. It hasn't went rusty or anything over 6 years time. The next piece of equipment is this little rack for discs. Basically allows you to store different discs all displayed and ready to use, and it saves up a lot. Somebody put a damaged disc in there, so the easiest thing to do with it is to break it up. Basically, if you have a rack like this, you will save up a lot because you will not going to be throwing or losing used discs. Another really good tool to have is a container for welding rods. As you will see, it's a hard container with an O-ring, rubber O-ring, so once you put your rods in, providing they come out of the oven, you can actually keep them nice and dry. If you use TIG welding, you will probably find quite often one of your grinding wheels to be having old grooves and all sorts of damages. It's actually really handy to have because in those grooves you can utilize them to sharpen your drill bits. And if you guys don't know the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing at the moment, just write it in the comments, and I'm planning to make a video about sharpening drill bits that should allow you see maybe slightly different techniques, because there is lots of different videos online. If you ever had to cut aluminum with cutting discs, you will know it's the biggest nightmare, so you will appreciate a little trick. And all it is, just using circular saw with a carbide cutters blades. It's a very similar blade to woodwork, it just has much more teeth per inch, and as you can see, it cuts through aluminum, 8mm aluminum in this case, with ease, not a problem. So really handy thing to know, because if you have to cut everything with a grinding disc, it's aluminum just gales up and makes it a nightmare of a job. The other one, most people will store in their extension cables this way, and it never really works. It works a lot better if you store your extension cable this way, simply because this way it has very little chance to unravel itself. And if you keep still doing it other way around, you probably find yourself extension cables going to nuts and getting all tied up, and it's very, very difficult. But if you do it this way, you can just hang them and they'll remain there. Some extension cables I have in the van for a year or so, and just never use them because never need of that length. But once you hang them, they're just there in a perfect order, and it takes a couple of seconds to do it. The other handy thing is a hand pump for water. All you need to do is just pump it up. It's very easy. Spray it on the floor, and when you're going to be swiping the floor, there will be no dust. It's one of those things that are very, very simple, but many people simply ignoring it, and once they start swiping the floor, it creates clouds of dust and really, really messy stuff. But as you can see, all dust settles on the floor, and you can basically gather it very easily. If you've seen the video about the van setup, I'm just kind of repeating myself simply because I don't have a Ukrainian version in Ukrainian language, the version about the van, so it's still handy to have. As you can see, I have a winch on the top of my welding generator, which I use on the ramps, and all I use is a standard drill to winch it all the way into the van, so I don't have to lift it. The weight of this generator is about 96 kilos, so if you had to lift it on your own, you can actually push it in even without the drill, but it's a lot easier to do it this way. And then you take a strap away and use the same strap for fixing for securing generator along with the ramp. Nice and easy. This particular video was made pretty much as something that I can put out really quickly, because I'm working on a video about gas burning, so that video will come along. But meanwhile, what you'll see, I have a extinguisher, red canister is for fuel for Jenny, then you have a MIG machine, the welding rods stored in there, and you also see some containers that you've seen earlier on. Basically everything stored in there as well. Because they're plastic, I just used black fill pen and written on top of that what's inside of the container, like 70-18 or 60-13 rods and diameter of a rod as well. The other handy tool to have is this little Arco boxes. The ones I have made by a company called Arco. However, I've seen other boxes that made by different manufacturers, but pretty much of the same idea. And all I do is just keep storing like clips or all TIG consumables, MIG consumables, things like this, all in different boxes, all segregated. And this way, if you need something, boxes also signed written boxes on there, and you know exactly where things are, and you can utilize it very easily. As you can see on the right hand side, underneath this little table, you can see just the one grinder lie there. Usually all power tools lie in there as well, so you have good selection of things. And it's the other thing what I find very easy for working is the van, where you can actually walk rather than being bent down and crawling about. I used to have Mercedes Vito, and I thought it was brilliant until they got this thing, and it's a Crafter long wheelbase, high roof, and it's absolutely wonderful. All different drawers in the toolkit, in the toolbox, hold the different equipment. So like previous one you've seen the levels and stuff, this one spanners, this one will be screwdrivers, and bottom I will have like heavier equipment, wedges, heavy wedges or hammers, and wire brushes, stuff like this. So hope you like that video, and hopefully you find something interesting for yourself.